Get ready to strap in. It's going to be a heck of a ride. It's like drinking from a fire hose. Never a dull moment, but yes, you'll hear the stories you won't hear anywhere else, and we appreciate you being here with us for them today. I'm Justin Barclay.
Yeah, welcome in. We got Karla with us today. Karla Wagner and Ax My Tax XAXMITAX.org, and the movement is underway. They're out collecting petitions. We want to get an update on that, where you can sign if you haven't already signed yet, and what you need to know, because I've had some questions asked about this at an event I was at last week, where folks were collecting signatures for the petitions. Plus, Karla, we got big stories that are breaking today, and I want to talk and walk through some of those. It's the very same sort of scenario that we're seeing play out with this story and Ax My Tax, wanting to get rid of property taxes and more. The stories continue to unfold. We're going to get those and get the latest. Now, there are also some questions, and some of these are coming from fair-minded people that want details on how this is all going to work. So we're going to get those as well. Hey, I don't know who made this, but Karla, welcome in. I saw this today, and I thought, man, this is a really good piece. Was this something you guys did?
I think it probably is. Yes, we are. We're
Welcome
getting
in.
we're getting very creative. We're getting very creative with all of our a lot of graphics. We have some really cool graphics, downloadable graphics on our website, and
Okay.
we've got some. You know what? And Justin, there's one that we just put out there, and this one breaks my heart. It's called "Lose Your Spouse, Lose Your House."
Oh, man.
Because that's what's happening to our elderly people. When they because they're elderly, they started working a long time ago. Their income wasn't great, their pensions, their social security isn't great, not near as much as what people are making now today. They've paid off their house, but they can't afford the property taxes. And
Yeah,
when one of them passes away and they lose that social security income or something,
right.
they're they're toast. They have no options. They have no options. And look at what happens when we force people into nursing homes. Nursing homes or assisted living, those costs are so exorbitant that these elderly people can't afford to pay them. They end up having to sell their house, or so Medicaid and Medicare, whatever it is, kicks in, that kind of stuff. Their income from so long ago doesn't keep up with the inflationary cost of today.
It
It's so
really is,
sad.
and story after story like that are really, we're hearing more and more. In fact, I just kind of talked about this off the air with you, but there's a story that just broke with us the other day. 85-year-old Korean War disabled vet here in Michigan, afraid he might lose his house because, and he's got some acreage too, but he's afraid he might lose it all, everything he fought for, because a drain commission came in and decided they want to put a drain in. $5 million later, he's got $60,000 bill. He says, "I'm 85. I don't care where I'm going to come up with this." Listen to Rudy in his own words describe how he's feeling.
I'm disabled veteran. I'm crowding 90 years old, and I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't. I'm scared. I can't afford it. I can't afford that kind of cost.
I can't.
I might have to sell my place. I don't know where. And then where am I going to go?
I told him in this conversation, Karla, I said, first of all, we're not going to, this shouldn't happen to anybody, 85 years old, but particularly not someone who served, I think, divorce courage. And I said, in your situation, we're not going to take this line down. We're going to stand with you and make sure that he's got, all the help and support that he can through this. But it's stories like this where the government, you get a sense for what happens when people fall through the cracks and the government comes in and just takes everything.
And, and Justin, what right do they have to do that? The only right they have is what we're giving them by not standing up, by not standing together, by not doing something about it. We're allowing it to happen. We're doing it to ourselves. We only have ourselves to blame for letting the government get to this point. These are township officials and county officials that we have elected. What the heck? Where do they think they have the right to come and take anyone's property that has, especially after it's been paid off? And for us, the income, we're trying to eliminate property tax, which unfortunately, that drain commission, those kind of things are still going to need to be paid or addressed in some other way, because it's property tax that we're eliminating, right? But I think
I think
it's
he's got an exemption. I think there's some
yeah.
sort of exemption that he's got because he's a disabled veteran. But this exemption wouldn't cover the drain charge, which is wild on top of it all. But anytime there's an opportunity, a chance at all that someone would lose their home in a situation like this,
I
it's criminal.
It is criminal. And even the fact that they would force him to, that he would have to sell it, right? Like, I might have to sell my house, is what he said. But then think about this, Justin. How do you sell your house when there's a $60,000 or whatever the drain commissioner's assessing his house for? How do you sell your property or your home with that kind of an assessment on it? You're not going to get the value for it that it should be, right? I mean, it's just this government crap has got to stop. There's a time and a place for certain things. We know we need progress. We know we have to pay for things, but certainly you don't take away one person's rights or property to benefit another person. That's just wrong. That
Carla,
is morally wrong.
Karla Wagner and Axe My Tax, absolutely. We're going to walk through some of the questions that people have had about Axe My Tax and the movement. In fact, right now they're collecting signatures. I'm going to tell you they're in dire need for you to come out and help them with signature collection, but also they're in dire need of you to come out and actually sign the thing. So we're going to tell you where you can do that as well. There was an event I was at last week with the West Michigan Patriots who had a whole event on AI, and there were folks there at the back of the room signing, gathering for those signatures. So we're going to give you the details on that, but also, this is on the website, and you and I have talked about this before, and that's kind of sort of the focus of what we want to discuss today. I know you have questions and things that you want to bring up as well, but there is a frequently asked questions section on the website at axmi tax.org, axmytax.org, where you can get the answers about all these. So let's walk through some of them. One of the biggest is, what happens to police and fires? Are the schools going to shut down? There are folks who say, look, I'm all about cutting the taxes, but how is this going to work? And you've got those answers inside there. I thought you had a great way of addressing that. What do you say to some of these questions?
I want to talk about the police and fire first, because police and fire are essential services, right? And they are there to protect our rights and our property. So those are two services the government is supposed to provide for us. So our petition actually provides funding for essential services, meaning police and fire, and then it protects that funding so it can only be used for essential services. Like, don't build me a pickleball court if I need a fire truck, right? We need to keep the government needs to stop giving us all of these fun, fluffy things when and then they threaten us that if we don't pass a millage, they'll cut off our police and fire services. So what that does, it's a little bit complicated for the average, for the average person that doesn't know a lot about budgeting and budgets and stuff like that. The state already, when all of the sales tax goes to the state is constitutionally mandated to share some of that sales tax back to every township in the state of Michigan. Our petition will require the state to also share constitutionally a portion of the state income tax, which is the largest revenue source for the state, is income tax. We want a chunk of that bucket as well. And we're going to also take a portion of the alcohol, marijuana, and tobacco taxes that the state collects, and we're going to force the state to send money from each of those buckets down to every township and county in the state of Michigan. And that will help cover those essential services cost And then, like I said, we're going to protect that money so it can only be used for those essential services. So that's an easy explanation in a small nutshell, right? There's more to it than that, but that's kind of like the easy basics. For
Yeah.
schools, okay, go ahead.
You said go ahead to get to the schools because that's a good. I don't think people realize inside the wording and how you get to set up that you're making this because this is going to be voted on. It's going to be constitutional. The part of the income tax is going to be taken and put aside for these services so that it's guaranteed. Have you had any criticism on that? That that now it's going to be more centralized. The state's going to be able to control the dollars and cents, or is that been any issue at all?
It Justin's yes, people go, well, now we're dependent upon the state. And I'm like, okay, but the state, because it's constitutionally mandated, the state has to do it. If it doesn't, every township and county would have the right to sue the state because it is constitutionally mandated. But the state has been sharing the portion of the sales tax. They've been sharing that for a long time, many, many years. So I don't see why that would change because it has been working. What our petition actually does is all of the money, all of the taxes that we pay to the state gets so much money, state income tax, corporate business tax, use tax, sales tax, lottery, real estate transfer tax, all of those taxes that is a revenue for the state. We find that the state is spending that money foolishly. So we want to give them less money to spend foolishly by saying you have to share a portion of those tax revenues back down to the townships and the counties. Stop pissing our money away on stupid stuff and send it down to the townships and the counties so the townships and the counties can tax us less at the local level, but our services will still be there for us. That's what it's supposed to be. So what we're trying to do is save our property. Number one, save our homes, save our farms, save our businesses, and save our money. Keep money back in the pockets of the people. I'm a small business owner, and I will tell you what, Justin, you will see for yourself. Restaurants and small businesses are closing across the state of Michigan. Why? Because the people of the state of Michigan are taxed literally to death. And we're noticing it. We have nowhere near the business that we've had before. Why? Because people have to cut out. They stop going, they don't go out to eat as much, right? They can't go out to eat as much. They can't buy as many things because they have to keep paying taxes. So it shuts the whole economy down. I mean, we're paying so much in taxes that people don't have the money to go out and generate any other business. They can't keep businesses in business. We're not generating enough sales tax. If you look at the state's budget from last year to this year, almost every single one of our revenue buckets has decreased, except property tax revenue. That's gone up because they keep spending and they keep taxing us more to pay for their spending, which means we have no money to spend the way we want to spend it. We don't get a choice anymore. We can't go out to eat because we have to pay property taxes. We can't go out to eat because we have to pay income tax. We can't go out to eat because we have to pay another tax. And it's shutting down the whole economy across the state of Michigan.
Karla Wagner, Axmi Tax, XAXMI Tax, TAX.org for details on the initiative, where you can find the petitions to sign and dig into it. Now, we were asking because the frequently asked questions portion of the website's a good place to get some of these answers because you're going to be talking to people who say, I like this or I don't know about this because I got questions about this part of one thing or the other. And some people are going to be very prepared to answer some of these questions about the frequently asked questions unless you get to a place where maybe you can have a conversation with Karla or whatnot. But this is a great place to get that. So what about the schools?
The schools. Yep. So, Justin, thank you very much for bringing up the schools. Again, we have become a society, right? Most people pay their property taxes through escrow. A lot of them don't even look at their property tax bills. But we hear about these school millages that come up, all right, that we have to vote on. We just voted on a bunch of them across the state of Michigan on May 6th. Local school millages do not educate your kids. Local school millages are for building maintenance, playground equipment, football fields. That's what past debt. It's like, okay, we're paying on past debt that somebody else voted on. I didn't vote on past debt, right? So local school millages that come up that we need to vote on has nothing to do with the education of the kids. The only part of your property tax bill that educates your kids is called the state education tax. That money goes to the state. It goes into the state education tax bucket in Lansing, and then it flows into the public school aid fund. The public school aid fund is $20 billion. The state only collects $2.7 billion from our property taxes that goes into that bucket. So it's a $20 billion bucket, and the state collects $2.7 billion from our property tax. Where does the other $17.3 billion come from? All of the other taxes we pay. So part of your state income tax, part of corporate business tax, part of the use tax, part of the beer and wine tax, part of your sales tax, the lottery, right? Real estate transfer tax. All of those other sources of revenue for the state also fund the public schools. So the attendance in the public schools has dropped by 15%, and it continues to drop. Representative Jim DeSena, House Rep, just wrote a bill to eliminate the state education tax off homeowners' property tax bills. Why? Why would a legislator do that? Because they know that the public school bucket is grossly overfunded. Grossly overfunded. So he's trying to eliminate the property taxes, the state education tax off our property taxes to save people some money, because the schools don't need it. People are sending their kids, they're homeschooling, or they're sending their kids to a private or a Christian school, and yet they are still taxed to pay for public schools, and we have the worst education quality across the nation. How is this possible? It doesn't even make sense, and they want to keep throwing more money at our schools, but we just keep getting worse results.
We got Greta on the chat right now over the Freedom Fam VIP, and he said, hey, ask Karla about this path. Apparently there's a $2 million path, a county path on school property that folks are spending lots of money on. He says Rockford is drowning in money, but it's all at the expense of folks who are paying it. That some of them can't afford it.
That is so true, Justin. And I think what he is speaking about, dirty little devil, I think what he's asking me about is there's a tiny section of a county trail that runs through a little bit of Rockford Public School property. And that's why we have a Parks and Recs millage. That Rockford Public School has a Parks and Recs millage because they said, well, because we have that little park, that little trail running through a piece of our property. That's how they tried to sell it to people. But it's really football fields and playground equipment and a little piece of that county park. But the county, you pay the county to maintain county parks. So they're double dipping. I mean, there's so many of these millages that are double dipping, that we pay for these things through all of the other taxes we pay when we send the tax to the state, and then we have to pay for them on our local property tax bills as well. That tells me these schools, these community colleges, this ISD, they don't know how to budget. We have to budget. People are having to budget. We are doing without to pay taxes for people that don't know how to budget. I'm telling you what, if your township officials, if your county officials, if your state legislators, if they don't balance their own checkbook at home, how in the heck are they able to balance a township, county, or a state budget? We got to start electing better people, more educated people, and fiscally responsible people, and people who give a rip about us losing our homes and our properties instead of them worrying about losing their parks or their splash pads, their pickleball courts, or their jobs. Our property and our rights are more important.
Karla Wagner with Ax My Tax, AXMITAX.org. I know you're well on your way trying to get these signatures. You got a deadline you got to hit. You got, 600,000 you got to get. So a lot of work is underway, but not just 600,000. They've got to be all the I's dotted, T's crossed. I mean, this stuff has got to be meticulous here. How are you doing that, and what do you need right now more than anything else?
You know what, Justin? The circulators that we have are so excited and so wanting to do this that sometimes we don't pay attention to the details. And I'll tell you what, we try and send out all the instructions. We try to give people training as much as we can. We have a lot of seasoned circulators out there, but unfortunately, I think it was in October of 2023, Board of Canvassers wrote or redid their 43 or 48 page manual. Things have changed. Things have changed since some of these people have collected signatures before. So like you said, we have to make sure our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, and everything has to be done very specifically, because we are taking money away from 3 levels of government and they don't like it. They don't like it. So they are going to scrub these petitions very thoroughly. They're going to look at them, and we're going to kind of be at their mercy. That's why we need to collect 600,000 or more, because our minimum is like 477,000 good ones. So we have to collect 600 to 650,000 because we know that there's going to be an attrition rate where they're going to throw a bunch of them out, right? So we do ask that circulators pay attention to the instructions, ask questions if they're in doubt on how to fill these out. You have to babysit the signers as they're signing them. But it is easy once you figure it out how to do it correctly. It's easy. I'm having people turn in 1,500 petitions that they've collected. People are reaching their personal goals of they're like, I want to get 1,000 signatures. And they are reaching those goals already 2 months into it. I had a young lady the other day that picked petitions up. She goes, I'll be back, Karla. My goal is 6,000 signatures myself. She wants to get 1% of our total. She wants to get herself. People are so excited about this. They see the need to eliminate property tax. We just need to make sure we're doing it right.
Yeah, that's for sure. Where can folks, by the way, because I know that you're going to be out and about. People are going to want to sign this. They're going to want to get out and find out where to go. I know on the website there is some details about events that you're scheduled to be at and where folks can find you.
Yeah, if they go to the website and look under events, they will not only see where I will be doing presentations, but they will also see where other people are going to be just for signing opportunities. And we have captains in probably 78 of the counties of the 83 counties. And hopefully when I go up north, I'll sign up those other counties. But, people are on the Facebook page. So they say, hey, where do I sign in Holland? Where do I sign in Osceola? Where do I sign? And we do try to address them. It is very difficult to try to reach out and find just a single signer. What we're trying to do is put this information on the website so they can find us. It's much easier for them to come out and find us than for us to go around and drive around trying to find individual signers.
There's one at Jimmy's Roadhouse. It sounds delicious, by the way.
Yeah.
You can kill two birds with one stone, it sounds like there. Yeah.
So you can see where it says presentation. So where on some of them it said presentation, which will mean a whole full-blown presentation. And a lot of these other ones, like this one, Alpena County Courthouse, that's just going to be a signing. That means that there's going to be people there just collecting signatures. There's other ones that will say presentation in that thing. And those are like, here's one in Ontonagon up in the UP, presentation. I have some wonderful people up in the UP. I feel like a rock star, not a good one, but I feel like a rock star because I have people in the UP that are putting together a UP tour for me. I'm going from one end of the UP to the other. They're booking me in tons of the counties up there. We need to let those people. They don't account for a lot of the Michigan's population or registered voters, but man, they want this done as badly as the people here in the Lower Peninsula. They need to have the opportunity to use their signature and their voice and their vote to talk about this as just like everybody else does. That's why I'm going to go up there and spend probably about 10 days. And on the way down, I'll be hitting a couple on my way back. Everybody needs to use their voice and their vote to get this done. We need to stop the theft of it's not only the theft of our property, Justin, it's the theft of our equity, our generational wealth, our liberty, our safety, our privacy, and our dignity, which you just proved by having that elderly gentleman on there who has done his service to our state and to our country. And this is how we're going to repay that? This by taking his property or forcing him to sell?
Yeah.
Can you tell how frustrated I am?
Hey, it's simple, folks. Stop paying rent to the government for property you already own. That's essentially the call for this Axe My Tax petition. You want to find out, maybe you have some more questions about it. Karla's an open book. She'll answer your questions. You want to go through the FAQ there. You can also find out where to sign this and volunteer. Right now, they need some help getting people out to get these things circulated. You can volunteer. You can donate your time or your treasure, but they're open to both. If folks want to ask you questions, maybe find you in person, the presentations, or where else should they check there, Karla?
The presentations are great. We do have a 1-800 number. It's usually the voicemail is full, but if they text me, I try to get back to them there. They can always call my cell number. That gets full too, and I'll tell you why, Justin, I let my voicemail box get full. It's because there's a lot of not so nice people out there that love to leave threatening messages on my voicemail. Like if they don't get a hold of me, I get threats, I get nasty messages. So sometimes I just let my voicemail box get full so I don't have to listen to them. But I do try, if people text me, I do try to respond to those texts as much as I can. It's hard, but because I'm busy. I have a life. I have a family. I have a business, and then I'm out here. If I'm not doing presentations, I'm answering. I'm doing podcasts like this. I'm talking to other people. So, but we're doing the best we can. So it is truly a grassroots effort. No one is getting paid. None of our volunteers are getting paid to do this. They are all doing it because they believe in the cause and they believe that we should be free and that our property should be ours once we buy and pay for it. Correct?
AXMI Tax TAX.org, and you'll find out how you can get involved in any of these different ways. Karla, thank you for the latest and the heads up, and please come back on if you have more updates. I know folks want to hear from you.
Justin, can I just say real quick about renters? A lot of renters don't think this affects them. They vote yes on millages, and then when their rent goes up, they move out of town and they leave the rest of us to pay, to pay for the millages they just voted on. This does affect you if you are renting. And when millages get passed, your landlord's property taxes are going to go up. And I will guarantee you he's going to raise your rent. So you need to think about that. Don't vote yes on these millages if you can't afford your rent to go up. And once we eliminate property taxes, rent will be more affordable. And more importantly, home ownership will be more affordable. Thank you. Thank
There
you.
you go. You have it. God bless. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate you too as well. Thank you.
Talk soon. Karla Wagner, AxMyTax, AXMITAX.org.
I'm Dr. Kirk Elliott, founder of Kirk Elliott Precious Metals. After being in the industry for more than a decade, I knew there was a better way. It's an exciting time to invest in gold and silver with the most significant bull market I've ever seen, but please don't overpay for your stuff. At KEPM, we focus on low-cost bullion only, and we don't charge a commission when you sell. We would love to connect with you, so call our office at 720-605-3900
Or go to goldwithjustin.com.
I got good news and bad news. The good news is it's a deal and a steal for you. The bad news is I missed out. Well, I just bought a bunch of bedding. I just bought a bunch of new pillows and sheets and things from Mike Lindell at My Pillow, and I didn't get this good of a deal. For a limited time, Mike is selling his pillows, the classic, $14.88. That's it. The My Pillow, the thing that started it all, just $14.88. He had one of these big box stores that canceled on him. You know how they do. Well, this is actually your win. It's a win for everyone. A win for Mike because he can unload the pillows at a great price. It's a win for you because you get a good deal, and you can help support this program at the same time. Get your pillows for $14.88 when you go to mypillow.com/Justin. Use code Justin at checkout. That's mypillow.com/Justin. And while you're there, shop for all kinds of great things. I love the towels. The best towels I've ever used in my entire life because Mike's got all kinds of great goodies.
Thank you for being here today. Don't forget to share. Follow me everywhere at Mr. Justin Barkley on all the platforms. At justinbarkley.com, you get my good newsletter. We can stay in touch no matter what happens with big tech and social media. And let's continue to get these stories out so that people can hear the truth. Why does that matter? Well, when you hear the truth, and you can make the best decision for you and your families, and that's important. And no matter what happens, folks, my peace, my hope, doesn't come from my circumstances. It certainly doesn't come from the people that are in the White House or in Washington, D.C. My peace, my hope, my joy is from someplace altogether much bigger. Keep your eyes focused on Him. God is still on the throne. God bless.